Okay, people are coming in. Good evening. Let's see whether you can hear me well. Okay. So, okay, good evening, everybody. Still waiting for another few to come in. Wonderful to have you here. Okay, great. Yes, I'm very happy to be here as well this day. It is very special and very precious to me to meet in this context and to have you here and to feel your presence and receive your questions and comments. It is so important at the moment that we understand or understand as much as we can of the process that we signed up for, the project. And we need each other. So today our topic is the universe and love, and we can kind of look at it from both sides. We can start with what's the game plan of this universe, or start with what's the fabric of love. I'm going to start with love, just saying that love is a neutral force. And before I say more, I want to add that at the end of today's workshop, I will send out, while we're in the call, a little poll to you. So 5 questions. Will only take a few minutes. And I hope you will enjoy this. This is a brief announcement. And I'm also doing this in response to a feedback of one of you. One of you was saying that it's a lot of information and it can be overwhelming. Of course, absolutely, it is a lot of information. And it takes time to process it and certainly to apply it in your life and to use it as a tool. It takes daily practice, contemplation as well. And there's always more questions. I know I always have more questions and more and more and more. It never ends. And that's a very healthy process as you wake up. And as we kind of bring the inverted code that we have lived on the planet back into its neutral, corrected state. So much information was turned on 180 degrees, topsy-turvy, and fed to us. And now as we go backwards to the Akasha, we turn everything back on its feet, if you will. So there's a revelation of the revelation and little breakthroughs, and then there's moments of stagnation, which is really integration. And so it's the work that we're doing. It's the purpose. You know, we are fulfilling purpose at the moment. The higher calling, why we're here, and sometimes hard for me to imagine that we still have jobs that we need to go to and kind of be present. But on the other hand, of course, we have it's part of what we signed up for, you know, to bring that energy that we're clearing and the clarity that we're gaining, to bring it everywhere we can. Also, I'm quite sure that we are approaching that work differently, you know, almost day by day. We start to realize what the work is and what it's not. I mean, any job as a teacher, when you work at a school, or as an accountant, wherever you do your work, when you start to clear out and be more in touch with your innate you will do these jobs from heart, and you will bring in your light, and you will shift the energy wherever you go, and release and relax people around you, so you can truly co-create. And this, in a way, is love. Bringing it back to the topic of tonight. Love is a neutral force. It's not charged with emotion. It's not what we live here on the planet, between couples so often, where we are in a way mirror, but then we project. We're not, we are mirror to each other, but we should own the information that the mirror gives to us completely, and not project it back onto someone else. Again, this is our journey, this is our movie, this is everything and everyone we call into our paradigm, we call in to help us get more clarity within, so we can evolve forward and for the world, for the planet. Soul evolvement, evolution. Soul evolution is not about a person. It's not about Lee, Milena, Desiree. Soul evolution is for the one soul, and it is experienced by the fractal, your soul. You could say we don't really have our own soul. We are fractals, the one soul. And our evolution is for the one soul to be integer, whole, and upgrades as well. Everything in the universe, in the omniverse, is constantly evolving, going through evolution, upgrading, upcoding. So love in this universe is part of the game plan of choice. So we have choice, love or fear, if you want to bring it into polarity. I talked about this before, that free choice, At some point you realize that free choice is not mine, so therefore it's not completely free. And then again, it is the absolute freedom. So the free choice, what happened on this planet is that the free choice was misunderstood and abused as choice exerted or executed by the mortal being. So choice became all about having, possessing, attaching to the need of the mortal. Whereas our choice really, and that is really the experiment on the planet with the humans, choice is meant as divine choice, the soul longing, the soul choice, what we talked about last time. Soul has a plan, soul has a longing, it wants to stretch and be free wherever it is. And free choice here on the planet is really that experiment. Can we go into density where we can make a body and still remember actively that we are not that body, that we are divine beings, that we are light and energy? Can we do that? That's the big experiment. And ever so often we could, and then for long stretches we couldn't. And so we were on a really long leash, and that will probably never stop here. That's the game plan of this universe, free choice on this planet. Will it ever stop? I believe not, but we are observed. When that experiment gets out of hands, there's intervention. That's 2012, cosmic intervention, and there was an earlier one actually. Already in the 90s, I think 1989, the councils came together and assessed the situation on the Earth, and for 2020 it was implemented. The planet went into 5D, so big shift, our hearts opened. Of course, we all felt that, not consciously maybe, but the heart shift happened. because we are the land. And when the planet shifted, we felt it in our hearts. It became already in 2012, we started to choose differently in our lives, or started to get more nervous about certain things. I just felt this is not working anymore for me. Little things, you know, and most of the people probably did not notice much. And that's okay too. So on this planet, we were really trained into, you know, and how did that start, right? It's often the question, how could it go wrong? Is it wrong? Another question. I don't believe there's wrong and right at all. It was an experiment, we have free choice, and it started with the humans, or maybe one human, feeling that need for control within. And we, you know, what we feel within, what is activated within, we bring in the outside world. We create, we cannot stop that, because we are creator commander beings. We can only neutralize it, so it dissolves again. But there must have been a being who felt that in control, need for control, and brought it in the outside world. And that was enough for everything to tilt and shift. Because we are one consciousness, and when one of us breaks free of that, goes through anything really, we all feel it. A good friend of mine once said, and that applies mainly to the 144,144 who are the well, the guardians, the ancient souls, you know, the founder race, really. If one of us watches porn, we all watch porn, you know, and that's really applies to the whole of humanity, the entire collective. What one of us does, feels, says, thinks, we all feel. We don't necessarily catch the thought, but it has a ripple effect into the collective. And it goes out and it comes back to that one source, that being who sent it out, to test, to see whether what that being, as a commander being, really wanted, to test whether is this what you wanted, you know, and are you truthful with your commands? So that comes back to you. But we all felt it in the meantime, you know. And so what's going on again is just another way to say it's never about me, it's never about you. When we come here, and certainly not anywhere else, we always are working in a collective and as a collective consciousness. We are so very important as that unique expression of that one soul, and then that one part of the collective. We are the drop, we are the ocean. Right now we're learning again to be the ocean, because we pretty much forgot about this. What I said before, from that inner need of control, it was created in the outside world, and control comes from fear. It will create more control, and more and more and more. And, you know, then choice at some point is not, I mean, it always is free and divine. You can either use choice as the free mortal being, or use choice as a divine, eternal being. And most of us went to choose from the mortal being. So choice was fed by fear and based on fear, almost all the time. And that sort of became the DNA of the collective. And that is now being corrected. We are being brought back into our divine state, to our light being state, you know, the clearing out that needs to happen right now, that brings us back into a 0 point, where we don't carry anymore karma, you know. We're going through the akashics, through the libraries, and we're clearing it out through our bodies and with our bodies. And to bring it all back into a neutral state, so we can create a new root race, so we can create a new akasha from a divine state, which means a neutral state, an enlightened state, a light body state. Yes, are there any questions so far? Or also, please just write up your questions that you maybe noted down for yourself when you went through the material that I've sent out last week. You can put any questions into the chat, you know, whether it's directly connected to what I'm saying or not. I will just go through it in the end. I just want to mention again, what comes back right now is what I said briefly just a few minutes ago, that everyone who's with us and every situation that we create is here to teach us and to show us what's going on, what we're still holding within that is not freedom and is not divine. And that we need to learn to own that mirror 100%. So when you are in a relationship and you are, information comes from your beloved that hurts you or irritates you, that you can say thanks. You know, you don't go into an argument, you don't start to assess mentally. You just say thanks and sit with it, and maybe you breathe through it, and maybe you can have an exchange, which I would say are questions mainly. And then you go and you own the full mirror, which means, you know, that is that a Hawaiian opopopopo, what's it called? Oponopopopo, you might know it. I think it's that Hawaiian one for forgiveness. It's not a prayer, it's not a mantra that you speak when information comes to you that creates a trigger or a pain moment, where you say, I love you, I forgive you, you are part of me. It's along those lines, you know, that we're stop jumping into an automatism of defense. Yeah, thank you, Milena. Ho'oponopono. Yeah, something like that. It's beautiful. That we understand. It's just information. We don't need to attach emotion. You know, which means sadness, aggression, a kind of programmed response. It's just information. Don't kill the messenger. The messenger is just the messenger, and the information is for us. And you know, we're creating a new code of honor at the moment on the planet, and it's through practice that we establish this code of honor and understand this new code of honor. Whenever we feel trigger is information, we decide and choose to own the entire mirror. The messenger, we can leave in neutrality, meaning love, but the message is for us. And I believe at the moment it is useful to create something like a buffer zone, or you know, so we're still learning to come from heart at all times. And I've just been through a challenging conversation a few days ago. You know, that we can innerly or out loud or scream it, you know, however you need to do it, to just say, I thank you, I forgive you, I love you, and we are one. Then you say this 3 times, you already reprogram yourself. You release wounding. You create a new timeline for yourself. You don't go back. You have cleared karma. You can choose a higher perspective just by saying these words from heart. Because you are the commander, you are the creator of your timelines and paradigms, and you can delete and cancel them. Cancel and delete. Every time I speak something that wasn't accurate in the sense of it didn't come from my highest heart or my deep heart or my connectedness, I say cancel and delete. Because I do not want it to ripple out so that all of you have to go through it. And then do not want for it to come back to me. Because it wasn't the highest choice. So we learned to speak, and that was one of the practices in the video that I touched upon. We're clearing out our language, so it's becoming a hard language again. We learn to be observant when we speak, so that when we feel, oh, I speak, but while I speak, I have a kind of a tremor here or an indication that this is not pure. We can stop ourselves immediately and say, cancel, delete, thank you, and then start again. And you feel when you start to practice language in this conscious way, and absolutely not from me, how empowering it is, how it brings you back into your centered, balanced, divinely connected state of light. So you no longer need to create truths for yourself through the mental, but you can let it speak through you from your higher selves directly out. From spirit, consciousness speaks for us out, or you just hold a loving silence. I would also love to hear from you in this context, whether you had any challenging conversations lately where you were triggered into, practicing love as a neutral state of being, as a force field that just holds you, that does not hold emotion and does not hold thinking. Have you walked into situations lately where you realized you're either jumping into an automatism, which you do maybe no longer want to do because it harms you, and you reinforce the program, or that you felt you'd rather hold silence, or maybe you had to walk out of it, or maybe you just felt the energy moving through you, and you could just really feel the program you hold, or the bad training we all receive. Okay, Alison is saying yes, she went through something like that yesterday. And first there was a response, maybe an automatism, and something like we respond to the trigger, but then she could go into silence. And today you're frustrated, Alison. Can you say why you're frustrated? Okay. Yeah. Because Alison felt she well, it's not, we have, she was saying that because she probably had an expectation, or maybe one, that we want to be, we feel like we should be beyond that, right? Why do we still go into old programming? Yeah. And when we go into old programming, and can not yet hold ourselves in the space of love and neutrality, but this needs to happen now. It still needs to happen, that we're learning to see where we self-victimize, where we in a way, censorship. We censor our higher understanding, our inner standing, our spirit. And we were taught, intensely on this planet to not listen to feeling, but to jump into mental defense very quickly as a survival strategy. And it really is what needs to happen, that we still do it to the extent that we can consciously see it, and situation by situation change by choice, stand there taller as the light being that is not programming, as the soul that is not programmed, and not as the mortal that responds from fear. It still is needed, we should, and there's no need to blame and shame and guilt ourselves. It is a great thing to just see it, and lovingly forgive ourselves, really lovingly forgive ourselves and be proud of ourselves, that we can actually begin to see it and feel it. And with that loving response to these situations, and release, and of course also, it really is all it takes is the love and the breathing. And for sure, if it happens again, you will be faster with coming back into the light and neutrality, and to just be there. Every time we heal ourselves and do not respond with shame, blame, and guilt towards something that we thought we should have done better, we will get better. It's the only way to get better. To be more in resonance with our heart is to love, to let that love that we are come out stronger. And if we've done damage to someone, go back and say, I'm sorry. And say sorry to yourself, forgive yourself, ask for forgiveness for yourself, and you will always receive forgiveness. Always. And Milena is saying that she feels her true or innate response in her body and the mind. The mind, of course, is trained. The mind cannot feel. So we've trained our mind to create defense and separation. And it's really time that we let our minds rest. I mean, the mind-heart is connected, but the heart is the pilot. And the heart is the wisdom carrier. The heart feels. And the feeling is the knowing. So shift it around and begin to truly, truly trust in what comes through here. And it takes a bit of slowing down, because we gave so much more attention to this. So initially it feels like we need to slow down so we can hear the heart. But that's only for a moment until we train ourselves back into coming from here. And then we actually gain speed. And all the people, humans who still go through thought process, are much slower than people who are present from heart. And yes, the body is the first to show the heart wisdom, because everything that spirit responds to, soul responds to, shows in the body. Relaxation, a sign of I'm aligned with my innate. Nervousness, pain, I came out of alignment with my innate, my center, my soul. Yeah, it is a daily, it's a daily love feast, you know, it's a daily party, a daily dance with ourselves. You know, becoming more intimate with ourselves, to it's often just shifted around. Okay, my mind wants to do, oh, okay, stop. Where am I? Because I'm not here. I mean, this is trained by the collective. This is not me. Meaning your innate, you know, your soul, your spirit is not here. It's here. Yes, and that takes situation by situation. We can lovingly learn to dance with ourselves. From, you know, I'm currently kind of trying, I feel that coffee is not feeling good within me since a few weeks now. And you know, it's little things like that. It's telling me, oh, no, don't take a coffee. And I'm like, but I like the ritual. So I, you know, it's a dance. I'm like, well, but I think a little coffee. And then I feel it in my body. I'm like, okay, after 2 sips, it's good, it's good. You know, we don't be rigid, neither, also not with, oh, have to be in the heart. No, never. There's never a must. If we go back into the must, even when it's something that is good for us, then we've lost the game again, and then we're back into slavery, and we're back into something mental. We're really learning to build up our world from the inside. And there is pull, there is resonance, there's not a must. That's completely gone. That's why it's so relaxing, and we're learning again to be in a relaxed state and not mistrust that state, you know, that it's actually a fine state, and that we can sit in the back seat and still be valuable to the whole collective, and we still fulfill purpose on a very high level, actually, once we realize we can't, you know, the mastery, great, but then comes surrender, which is even a higher realization of self. Back into the kingdom of God, you know, that's surrender. Surrender comes after mastery, it's the higher. And so we're learning to just sit back and sit back again and sit back again, and we gain a wider perspective. And we really, our nervous systems can relax again, and, you know, immune systems can come up, and we get information. Oh, I need more, I don't know, seaweed, or I need more vitamin C, or it's speaking, it starts to really speak the wisdom that we are. And just take everything out of time, because you know that time was taken from the planet as a linear mental concept, was sort of deleted. Time is space. If you want to bring it into something that we understand here while we're in the body. And that space you can bring into several octaves or timelines or parallel experiences. You know, it's also not just like this here. It's the quantum, you know, time in the quantum is parallel experiences. There's so much going on with us. And the more we can relax and just let it go, pass through us, come out through us or flood into our being, we are so guided. And whatever we came here to create will come from that ease, and we are able to magnetize all the help we need because we are in clarity and we're not blocking it with mental blockages or old programming. That's the new ease we all wait for, and it's written into binary code. It will be realized. It has been written, so it's not something that is a maybe. It is already here, but we still need to practice it in through conscious choice. And at the moment, there's still sociopaths. This year, still they're trying to hold on, to fear codes and control codes. So it's important that the ones who are waking up and the ones who understand more and more what powers we have, that we really practice those powers all the time. And nothing is too small, because everything, every time you breathe from lightness and satisfaction, soul satisfaction or joy, we all feel it. Every single breath is a gift to the collective and lifts everything up. So we are extremely powerful, and we don't need to go somewhere and turn things around in the 3D. That's something that some of us do, but it doesn't mean that that's the only way. That's the old way. And for some of us, it's still that kind of work that needs to be done. But many of us have a different calling. We hold space, we hold light, we hold love. We just walk the planet. We put our feet on the ground, pulling up the earth codes. Let them flood into the collective. It's so often not visible. These, as I say many times, are not so important anymore. We're learning to see differently, to take in information not just through the eyes, but through all our 355 sensory senses, which are cosmic senses. So we can start to value what we are fully, and not just think along the lines of, when I look great, I'm great. When I talk great, I'm great. When I produce a lot, I'm great. That's done with that. It's what you hold in your field, what you share out from light and love, that has an effect and shifts the world. And from there, you create whatever you wish to create, whatever sometimes we call that second purpose, whatever your passion is. Yeah, it's yes, it is that new dance or Desiree that, yeah, it's, so many things, how we were trained were exactly in 180 degrees. Just turned around onto its head. The inverted code was established on Earth, that you should be guided, that there was guidance in your head. There's no guidance here. It's always been here. You become very easily steered by others, because this is responding to training, collective training, third-party training, whereas this is yours. This is your first authority, is your spirit. Your soul consciousness is your first authority. And maybe you should all walk around with a big number one medal on here, you won. Just so maybe to visualize it, to ourselves and others, here is my authority. And then do it from lightness, we don't need to take our whips out, oh my God, did it so wrong all these years or aeons on the planet. It doesn't matter. There's no time. There is the space of experience that we open up for everything. And it really, everything is dance. Guilt we created through the mind, it does not exist. Blame and shame, they don't exist outside and apart from the mind control. And mind is beautiful when it's clear, crystalline clear, and when it follows heart. Of course, we use it to create. But first it needs to clear out, and this needs to be full, in its full power mode. And then they can work together in balance. Well, how was that to hear about love in this way? Did you already explore that for yourselves? That love, that the fabric of everything, the highest creative force. Yeah, Milan's asking whether all the solar systems, galaxies, universes. Yes, that's the fabric of the omniverse, is love, neutral. It's the creational fabric. But in this universe, we go into a consciousness where we consciously can choose. Do I choose more of the love experience, or do I choose more of the shadow of fear experience? It really is an experiment. What happens if we have that free choice? Can we still uphold our divine state or not? What are the galaxies about? Well, it's not the galaxy here, it's the universal game plan. So, but the free will, free choice is in this galaxy. Yeah, it's not just on planet Earth, but it's still always different on every planet, even in this galaxy, slightly different nuances. Which has to do with the whole history of the human history, really back to the first emanation out of the Godhead, and the 144 coming down to Earth and starting to create this experiment around the physical. In general, when you travel through the cosmos, the universe is as soul fractal, which is love light. Let me remember this correctly. You touch upon shadow before you come to Earth, yes. But it's not like here where you have the choice in every moment through the physical, because you have the mind connected to the heart and you have that choice. When you travel before you come here into the body, you shadow is not what we think it is. It is not antimatter to love. Shadow is love too. And when we travel, before we come here, we are touched by shadow to train the light that we are. The two really dance together and ultimately to strengthen your light. So the shadow is at service to the light. That's also why the light can always command the shadow, and the shadow cannot command the light. It cannot, unless you block the knowing that you are light, and then shadow can connect. It can still not command you, but it can connect and take over a lot of your otherwise free will of command. Yeah. Is that clear enough? Okay. This is a very special planet, the paradise planet, because we make the light. We, the ones that breathe, because we have a body and breathe, we are alive. Like no other energies. And when we're as the crystalline light, when we're back in a crystalline state, or can hold that state, and we are alive, which is an extraordinary state to be in the universe. Extraordinary, and that's why we've been watched with so much love and tenderness, because it's very courageous to go into this density, to be able to make a bond, and at the same time very, very glorious, because we breathe for the entire universe. And Earth, again, for our galaxy is such an enormously important hub, not just the galaxy, the universe actually. And there's all this help, and all constantly watched and helped, and that was there is still so much that we have not discovered, and will, as for all of us, not just that, not all of us yet talk daily with their teams and their higher selves, or are online with their higher selves constantly. That's one thing. But the other thing is to really regain the sight, the cosmic sight here, the expanded perpetual gland, the expanded third eye, so we can see beyond. I think this will take another many 100 years before we are accepting enough almost of such variation. Some of us much earlier, of course, that we can have this exchange, have spaceships land in your garden and just have coffee with them, so to speak, have a one-on-one. Of course, it's important that when you're ready for this, that you let them know, because they're waiting and they will start to give you signals, so you can have that. if that's what you want, to really experience the hub, the airport that this planet is, you know, portals, so many portals here, also especially where I live here in Interlaken. There's major galactic and intergalactic portals for beings, Arcturians, and all sorts of Pleiadians, especially Arcturians, though, to come in and help us. They clear the air a lot. The Arcturians help us with all the detriment around the planet, all the waste, you know, from our satellites and so on, and the energetic waste from the density of the planet. They clear that for us, all the way down to chemtrails. Very helpful. Early on, they worked with us. You know, there's also been human experiments on all the and also in our solar system on all the planets. We are really the last one on Earth where it went on like this. But we have been on all the other planets, and we're still there, and there's still presence of earlier human variations, beings. And, you know, depending on whether you read with 3D eyes or minds, that we are on Earth and we explore our solar system, or whether we actually are at home on all the planets. And, you know, that depends on where you're reading from. And that's the fun of the quantum, you know, you can read from all the levels, all the dimensions, and you'll get a slightly different story. You read the facts differently. Yeah, so time, Barbara's writing that she struggles with, I dare to say, the linear time, schedules, dates, appointments. Time has been taken off the planet. But of course, those who still want to use it, we can still play with it. I mean, we all still do to some extent. But I think we all experience kind of, you know, it's we can let go, you know. I like completely go, whether I know it's Monday or Thursday. Why is it important to me? It really isn't. And I have a calendar in my kitchen where I write things up, you know. But if I need to know what day it is, for some reasons, I'm sure someone will tell me. But I don't use any sort of energy to uphold that system, because that's not where I'm operating. And so we can let go, you know, it's an inner choice. Some still spend energy holding up the old linear timeline, but it's harder and harder for everyone to do that. And we're really experiencing this, that, you know, creating on a linear timeline, I don't know, having an appointment every Thursday, you know, that kind of automatic living, or like we've pressured ourselves into repetition, into being more of a machine than an organic cosmic human DNA, that a field of energy that is spontaneous, you know, that's kind of over. We're kind of letting that go more and more and more, and it shows in all sorts of places. And of course, we learn to reorganize ourselves in this more organic way, in this spiraling circle way, where we're being pulled, you know, together, where we don't, you know, at some point don't maybe need to write up appointments, even if we're 5 or 10 people. We will just call each other from the heart, and it would go randomly bang, you know. I feel like we need to come together next Thursday, and someone will send it out from the heart, or make a phone call, whatever you fancy, and the others go, yes, 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 we all feel it. And had we written it in, you know, like 3 months before, on a Thursday morning at 8, maybe we would have called in sick or something, you know. It was like, oh my God, this is totally not where I need to be right now. I mean, this does not mean that we become irresponsible, or I think it's at the moment, it's just game and play. We need to figure it out, because we're shifting into this more inner guided, energy guided living. You know, that's why it's so important to me to talk about energy, that we're not struggle, that we can find a confident way to live this and to uplift our lives as energy beings, because we are guided, we are synced, and we're moving into new technologies also that allow this. And of course, also, you know, 5D technologies, which include telepathy and third eye, you know, connectedness and teleporting and all that sci-fi stuff, you know. But right now we still have one foot, we're slowly pulling out one foot out of the old world, and we are already creating a new world. So it's a bit wobbly. And depending on who you work with, you can be more in that space, or you're still a bit of a need to accommodate meetings and times, and both is beautiful. It's a matter of just observing as well. You know, also sometimes I listen to saying organizing becomes a bit heavy, or you need to really push yourself to do it. And it might be that applies for a specific sort of work, or a specific topic, or a specific way of co-creating that is not aligned anymore with us. Or maybe it's the everyday, you know, that can also, this breakfast, lunch, dinner as a mom, or maybe as a single mom, you know, so much, do we really need that? And or how can we make it fun? How can we open it up into something more spontaneous and co-creative? Because I think these are the nominators that we're looking for to feel more at ease. It's co-creation. So not willing things, but, you know, work together. Co-creation, not just with other incarnates, but also with our higher selves and our teams, kind of saying, hey, I really need help with this today. I need to go shopping, but I really don't have the time. Or I don't know, I'd rather, I don't know, talk to your teams and maybe you get invited for lunch from your neighbor, you know, if you're like, oh my God, I really cannot cook today. Or maybe a child, your son comes home and says, hey, I don't know, I've already eaten. And your daughter's like, I'm not really hungry, you know. All these things can happen if we become more and more aware that we are co-creating everything. You know, we're always here to let go and then magnetize what we need. And we're only beginning to play with this. So it takes our awareness and our playfulness and a bit of courage or so to just say, so what, you know, when something doesn't work out. Sometimes we give ourselves a bit more space to experiment. And I want to go back to Barbara, who writes, I would love to experience that time has gone. Yeah, it has gone. It's an inner letting go of that belief, you know. And how do you do that? Again, take it into experience. During the day when you feel you're becoming, you know, you have a physical response to something linear, or that you just don't want to do it. Either like this or at all, or because it's on a line, it's linear, and it really is gone. It's only if we uphold it, and we can choose to uphold it or not in that way that we've learned. There is something like cosmic time and divine timing, you know, that is the big plan that plays out through us. And that's actually enough timing, really. And there we need to sit back, you know, when it's not our time, you know, because we are astrologically connected, of course, with all the planets. And that's another thing we learn. We cannot push through moments where everything is retrograde in our own constellation, really, you know. our own electromagnetics. That's another way that we learn to work with time as cosmic time. And then there's the divine timing that we have, that we are, that it's not time for that in our lives. It's maybe not time for a relationship. It's now time to go and release programming before we can then go on focused and with clarity into the next creational moment. So that's kind of the other, when linear time has gone, we move into a cosmic and divine time. And that affects also, our strictness in a way with sleep. The hours we need to sleep, we have programmed into ourselves that we need 8 hours of sleep to work, to function properly. And otherwise we say we slept little or too much, like we set that norm. And we're beginning, of course, the less density we carry, the more we will play with that as well. We need 3 hours, maybe no more. We're not quite there yet because the whole collective, we still carry baggage, from 7 billion something humans who are slower on that whole process. I mean, that's maybe a big number, maybe it's a bit less. I mean, but it's even if we are within ourselves very realized, we are part of all of the whole thing. So that also creates a wobble. And still it's up to us to choose where we place ourselves, how quickly, in a way, we go through release, how strongly we are devoted to our own inner balance and the innate speaking. To just let go of that other perspective, looking at life from the outside and then thinking we can learn something for our inside. It's not how it works. First authority is spirit. And from there, and from the state you have created within, you attract. It's always from the inside out to the outer world, and it's never the other way around. So when you say you want to experience time gone, done. Time is gone. It's gone for all of us, and if you decide so, it's gone for you. And then let that come up, But that has to do with the death codes, clear your death codes. As the mighty I am presence, I clear my death codes. From this moment on, I remember my eternal lessons. Done. And maybe you repeat this a few times. You don't really have to, but you can. We're learning to be eternal beings again. And clearly there is no time. When you're eternal, there is space, experience. Your death codes. We have created that belief that we are mortal beings, right? So, and we write our own DNA, and of course in connection with the divine plan. But everything we believe manifests in our DNA. That's how we hand on, through the ancestry lines, behavior patterns. So we believe to be mortal beings. It was kind of put into us, right, from the institutions. You will die, and therefore you better be good here, and we tell you how to be good. And we're clearing the death codes at the moment, going back, remembering, activating our eternal life. consciousness. Yeah, we are opening up the wider, really experience ourselves. Well, that's why I said so often it's so important that we experience ourselves again as soul and fields of energy. The enormous fields of data morphing and shifting. And it is consciousness, that activates that free will and divine will merging into will divine. That creator power then coming from soul, and the one soul, the big soul. And then we understand that this life is not about us, but it is about everything. And we have the honor to come in and hold space for that. It's an honor and it's tough. Yeah, that's funny. And you play. Yeah, when we say we play Ernsthaft, there's a word in Dutch also. When children play, they distinguish between, I can't remember the word, real play or serious play and the other thing. Lightness. Be like the children, right? The energy that we called Jesus Christ said. And that's really what he meant. Explore, explore, be curious. Don't project onto others, don't fixate, don't reinvent the rules. Don't separate yourself from what's going on. Children at play, they don't know where they are, really, because they're still, when they're young, like 2-3-year-olds, and that's a beautiful state, where you're still connected and you just let come life towards you or let it move through you. You're sick one day and you're happy and healthy, total energy the next, or even from hour to hour, like children can let that stuff move through them density and they just transmute and come out because they don't hold on to it mentally. They don't go into a state, at least when they're really young. They're very quickly, of course, and depending on the soul that it incarnates, they pick up on the mother's worry, the dad's concepts, and so on, and they start to self-assess, and then, it's the same thing that the adults do. But yeah, playfulness really means to not be from concept, from fixed belief, from false narrative of good and evil, because there is no evil. That's a big one. In the outside, if there's darkness and evil, then it sits within us, and we, at least that kind on the planet, there's in the universe, the omniverse, I'm not sure there is anything out there that really wants. But I'm still exploring that, to be honest. I'm doing a lot of exploring at the moment with other forces. But here, there is only good, there is only the divine, and everything else is artificial intelligence. And what humans started to call good and evil, was random, came out of the need for control. And we're bringing this back into neutrality, into the one love, where we know that everything that plays out is love, even if it's horrendous to look at. It's still love. It's still coming from the one soul, playing out in the outside world, an experience. And we're all here to watch it in neutral love, so it can transmute and release fast. We're not here to judge. And we've all chosen, experiences that were that we could judge, that were not. I don't know, I don't want to say, use the word not. We all chose experiences, intense ones. We didn't always just come from love and light. And that's not wrong. It's part of strengthening your own light. It's part of what we're allowed to do here. And that is not, there's a balance, this game plan was meant to have a balance between experiences of light and experiences of dark. Because it was a free choice, a divine free choice that we could make. But once that all tilted into the need of control that we exerted and executed, then everything became denser and denser, and that was no longer that I almost want to call it a kind of innocence from where we chose light or a shadow experience, a kind of a harsher, mentally judged as a harsher experience, maybe. But it from soul, it's just experience. Soul comes and just decides on experience. It's not evil, it's not good and bad. It's just an experience. And that's it. And all these experiences are being transmuted and are being watched and overlooked by many, many beings. And it just got out of balance on this planet. But we were allowed for such a long leash, we were allowed, this was allowed for a while to see whether we could bring it back. But we couldn't do it on our own, so we needed cosmic intervention. Yes, language is abracadabra. I create as I speak. Language is light, condensed into vibration. We are commander beings, whether we speak or not. We hold light, and light is information. Light is code. So feeling alone, we wouldn't need to speak. We, through feeling and inner consciousness and inner choice, we transmute information as well, and we influence everything. And of course, all the beings that used to try to control knew that and tried to control the human language or used language to trick others. And or try to silence, try to silence powerful beings. I mean, from cutting their tongues off, torture, to, silence them and taking them out of the collective, putting them somewhere where they couldn't influence the collective any longer with their empowering knowing and knowledge. And the way we speak is an effect of our inner state, right? If we're back into your heart connection, the light power. Like what I do now, I check, what comes from here. What comes from here? I don't speak unless something comes from here. Something pushes through, and otherwise I'm silent. And that's why I very strongly am guided through my councils and the collective that I am to. Well, they, I don't know, I can't, this is not, it's just happening to me. And I know when it happens to me, it's important that I share it. The neutralizing and the clearing of not just, less thinking. We will stop that anyway when we shift it. We don't need it any longer. We want the innate guidance. And then when we use words, we start to develop a sense of connectedness when we do our abracadabra. Of course, mantras come to mind now, that a form of using words that comes from the conscious heart, that is a commander language, is a direct and pure language with no maybes and buts and yeah, it creates quite a shift when we take out those words that we feel like we kind of fall. It's almost like they're in our way. We start to develop a sensory sense for words that are kind of deviating our energy, that are not creating a straightforward light emanation, like the word but. You come from here and then it goes changes direction, right? Now I start to feel very uncomfortable with the word. Sometimes I still use it, but I try to find other ways. Or, as I said, the word must is a word that I take out of my vocabulary very consciously. I have free choice. I don't have to do anything. And that is an enormous empowerment to take that out of our creational power, that we really reconfirm daily that we have free choice and we don't have to win. It's just these things, our language, our thought forms, holds a lot of reinforcing blockage energy, reinforcing programming energy, and it's time to feel that when we become uncomfortable with an impulse, a thought, language that we corrected. Like I said before, cancel and delete when I say something that is not. That immediately I get a resonance in my body. Whoa, this is not coming from a higher conscious connectedness. This creates separation. I stop it immediately. And the same with thoughts. Purity of thought is very, very powerful. And then just thinking less and not at all. This is wise. And this pushes for our brains to create words that come from connectedness. And if we're not coming from connectedness, why speak at all? Yeah. Another thing to observe is where we attach emotion to information in our everyday life. Or where we can hold a neutral state. It's like little things I observed myself tonight when I was cleaning the floor because I don't know, someone spilled something on the floor. And I felt like an emotion or like something of, coming up in me. Like I didn't put it into words or a thought. I could release it before that or stop it, really cancel and delete. What a feeling of frustration. Like, I mean, I could have said, why do they never take a plate when they, I don't know what, run around with food or something? Because I told them like 100 times, like blah, blah, blah. And then, but that's so painful. Just to think that through and speak it out loud is painful. And so I say cancel and delete. I'm not sending this emotion out into the collective so that everyone has to go through my frustration. It's not needed. I just send love into it, and I love to for myself. I do not want to harm myself with negativity or what is that even? Who's even speaking at that moment? It's certainly not my highest self. That's probably my mother's frustration, which I didn't like. And why should I repeat it? So it's just, it takes a lot of observation, and we can clear it out. It really can. It's possible. And it clears our vision to see what's really here, how much love there really is around us, and how much help when we stop, or we're really, really cautious and dedicated and devoted to transmuting all these little triggers and the programming. And sometimes it's we tap into a collective stream of something old that we are invited to clear. I have a question from Michaela, who's not here tonight. She was asking what happens to that energy that I release. Well, we're neutralizing it. And by bringing in the light of awareness, we neutralize any charge. And we bring that energy back into a 0 point. So it's released into the love fabric, into the love creative force. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. You're describing, that's a great step when you can start to, in a way, feel or see the beast that we recreate, for instance, as anger, and we can start to see it also. Because the great thing is that when we see it or feel it, you know, it can be that one, then we realize in that moment, our consciousness and our conscious mind can create a picture of it, the anger, the emotion, whatever it is, to be outside of ourselves. And that's such a powerful moment where we realize we are not that, and we can move it outside. And we do that because we are raising awareness to our emotions, and we are becoming more hearing and listening better to our own automatisms and automations and programming. After a while, it really moves outside of us. You know, we can do that quickly, pull it out, but the other way we can experience it, and there's many ways, is that we go through a similar situation that we maybe went through 2 years ago, and it would still have been in us completely, that energy, because we haven't pushed it out. Now, because we've done that work, suddenly we feel like we can see it in the room. We can see that dark cloud of anger, and we can actually look at it, and we are amazed how huge it is, or how dark, or how present. And that's a great step towards releasing it. Once we can see that we're not it, and it is something that we can push out, we can release by decision, by a conscious choice, through a process of connecting through our hearts, so we can feel safe. You know, once we feel safe, releasing old stuff certainly becomes much, much easier. How can we feel safe? By connecting to our innate, meeting ourselves intimately every day, meeting our first authority every day, so we can feel anchored and held and stable within. And then that process can unfold. And that's a beautiful thing when you start, wow, we can just sit there and see it in front of us, you know, see or feel. And then it will go. Blow it away, blow it off, neutralize it. You know, when we say, you can go now, thank you very much for what you showed me. I created you, and I undo you, and I release you now back into 0 point neutrality, the one love. Done. Yeah, that's great. And it takes that learning to slow down, to get out of an automatic response, learning to feel the body when someone speaks to us. You know, we first have a physical response. And if we can learn to hear that first before we respond with words and thoughts, we create an enormous advantage to ourselves to just stay and hold space, breathe before we respond. And maybe we have no need to respond at that moment. We can just own the mirror. Breathe a lot, check yourselves during the day a lot. Breathing is the one primary power, consciousness, you know, bringing your physical and your eternal being into alignment. You're taking something completely new, unwritten, oxygen, if you want to call it that, or God consciousness. You take it in, it's unwritten. And you release everything that is not aligned or not on the frequency of that God consciousness. You let go. So whenever we feel tension in the body, as a first response, it's best to breathe for a moment till you're back in the now. Because usually triggers take you out of the now, they bring you back somewhere in the past where the initial wounding happened. And you can only become aware of this through breathing, bringing you back into the now. And then you can actually able to say thanks because you realize that you called in someone or something to show you this, to show you that wounding so you can release it. And there's really just thankfulness and nothing else. There's just gratefulness because your being created this situation, called in that other person, human, whatever it is. So you can have that mirror so you can go into healing. Let's take a few moments to just breathe. And just tell your higher selves and your team to take everything from you, release everything from you that is not yours or that is old. You can actually say or feel those words whenever you do release breathing. So you have extra support. And get in touch with your light column that goes through the middle. Your light goes up and down, so light. Your intention is set on clearing it from everything else that is not yours. And that is old or not for your highest good. Okay. I'm not closing the session yet. I would love for you. I'm going to launch a poll now, 5-question poll. And I would love for you to fill it out now. And there's some questions in it where you can, maybe you have a longer answer for me, then you can choose to write it into the chat just now, and then we can both, maybe I can respond right away, or you can send me an email if that's what you prefer. And I'm quite excited about this because I think that's the first time I use a poll in the Zoom. So here it comes. Can you see it? Did a window open up for you? Okay. Is everybody? Oh no, it's going on, I see. Yeah. Yeah, online is handy in that way when you have children that are still small. Okay, I'm still waiting for one person. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot going on with monthlies. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just currently considering a monthly, maybe even a live YouTube, and just to answer questions. I think it's so wonderful if there's platforms where we can pose questions, and probably it will be topical per month with a bit of a focus on my side. Very much about things we've talked about here, so quite broad. I really focus on, how can we move through these times healthily and empower ourselves as creator commanders and be in position and at peace. And more and more I feel it's important to discuss also our work, our daily lives. How do I handle this or that? How can I co-create this new world, to learn from each other as well as to pose questions? So that would be probably very broad, as I said, context. But I'm also interested in learning from you guys and others what specific, where I could go into more depth, what topics. And I see here that healing and transformation are kind of top subjects that interest most of you. And everything else as well, but these seem to be the top runners. And then I'm happy to see that everybody felt that this classroom was helpful. That's great. And everyone would be interested in a follow-up. And then it varies a little bit. Some of you, monthlies, most of you would be interested in a monthly. And then we have half almost with either do it online. More people prefer an online format from a local format, which is probably explained because you have to travel and it's not always convenient. At least I feel that's what it is about. I would enjoy a group, that I could work with intensely, a group that is really, really eager to learn and to bring that knowledge into their lives and for the collective, through their jobs, through their educations, or just for their families. That can be online or here locally or both. But that's another thing that I feel a call to. It's one is a broader format, monthly, and the other thing is a group of very dedicated and eager incarnates human souls who want to push through these transformational processes. I don't know whether I should say fast, but in a very dedicated way, so they can bring so they can be co-creators of the new earth and work for the collective and the planet. Full force. So I'm very grateful for your answers. It's always insightful. And I'm always open, when you feel I really want to understand this or that you let me know. And then I see whether I can bring a little group together, or of course you can always do a one-on-one. But group learning is wonderful and very giving. Yes. So just do email to me if you have ideas, or not just topics that you feel are important, but anyway, my email is always open to any sort of support that you need. Okay, I think that was it. That was really wonderful. I enjoyed all aspects and parts of our co-creation throughout these 3 weeks. And I thank you a lot for the evolutionary light that you carry, and that we can connect in this way, and that you bring into everything, the planet, the collective, in every aspect of your life. And keep on shining. You're the stars, you're the suns that carry the light. Okay. Namaste. And happy lives. And till next time. Travel safely and have fun playing. Exploring yourselves. I'm going to try to open this image. Thank you, Desiree. Okay, Alex, thanks. Group idea, yeah, a group. I would love that too. To continue with a group like this, if this is a good size. and then have this more open format once a month for everyone, and a little group to work with one another's speed and concentration. I'll keep you posted, and as I said, do let me know what you need. Okay, thank you, in Lakesh. Bye bye.